Hello everyone and welcome to another video by myself, Sam, your co-host and fellow Brony of the Brony UK channel. So welcome back to Bronies UK. So, so this video, or should I say audio, because I'm not in video, this is just me talking about stuff. But today I want to do the discussion about Misty. I'm going to start off by saying she is my favourite G5 character. I absolutely love Misty for many reasons. Firstly, because she is a really cute character, and I just want to give her a hug because she really needs a hug. I think a lot of the times because she's been through a lot of bad stuff. So regarding her and her character in general, I just want to start out really with discussing her early appearance and then going all the way into her character as she develops, because one of the things that I absolutely love about her character is just how she develops as a character. Like, she has a good amount of backstory, she has a good amount of character development, and in many ways, personal opinion, I think she's a far better written character than the rest of the main characters. We are first introduced to Misty at the very end of the G5 film. Right at the end of the G5 movie, there's a very short sort of, after credits clip where we meet Opaline for the first time and Misty. And obviously, it's left in mystery. We don't know who they are, apart from, obviously, it's heavily implied Opaline was always going to be the main villain. But we don't know anything about Misty. And sort of Misty is very much sort of living under the, I suppose I could say, living under the trickery of Opaline, if I will, because she's very much sort of she's under the belief that Opaline will grant her a cutie mark, and she will give her a cutie mark, as I say. And she's been living with Opaline for as long as we are aware of. I mean, we know that she was discovered by Opaline when she was just a filly, and she's grown up with Opaline, but she's always been, obviously, very much unattuned to Opaline. She doesn't really follow Opaline in the way of Opaline wanting to, control all the magic in Equestria. Misty is very much against that within herself, within her heart of hearts, if you will. And when we first really meet Misty, she's obviously sent out by Opaline to spy on the main five, if you will, on the new main characters. And obviously, the very first character she meets, if I'm remembering this right, I believe it's Izzy. And obviously, she's slowly introduced to the group. It's you kind of get the impression with Misty that it's very clear that she doesn't really want to betray anybody. She doesn't really want to do bad. But she believes that Opaline will grant her a cutie mark, and that's what she really wants. So she spends a lot of her time, obviously, learning, really. I mean, in many ways you could say she's almost like a reverse of Twilight, in a literal sense. Like, Misty is that sort of unicorn who has been exposed to friendship in a very different way, whereas Twilight was sent out by Celestia to find the main six, to unite them, because obviously they were the elements. Misty's the opposite, in a sense. She is someone who unintentionally finds friends, and through her friends she gains her cutie mark, and she learns to be a better unicorn, a better pony, if you will. And it's what I really like about her character. I like her, as I say, her character development, her backstory. I like how she changes throughout the series. She goes from being a sort of, very much a plain blue unicorn with, standard plain blue afro style mane, and then by the end of it, she's got a real sort of good vibe going on. She's got that sort of blue, green, teal effect. Later on, she obviously goes with purple and pink and sort of the orange. And I just really like her character. I mean, her development is just fantastic. Her overall story arc I really like as well. And just for me personally, she's the strongest cornerstone of G5. And I kind of feel it's a bit of a shame that we lost that with the remainder of the new main six. If we don't really see them grow on the level that Misty does. I mean, if we look at Misty from the beginning to the end, as I said, she starts out as this sort of unsure, a bit shy. She doesn't really want to do evil, but at the same time, she wants to please Opaline. She wants Opaline to grant her a cutie mark, as I say. Through meeting the main five, she learns of, there's a better way to live, a better way to do things. And she learns about friendship, and she learns about trusting each other. And eventually, she realises that Opaline, is evil. Opaline isn't going to grant her a cutie mark. And she ends up very much being almost like a double agent. She's pretending to be part of Opaline, but at the same time, she's hanging out with the main five a lot and sort of telling them what Opaline's up to. One of the things that I really like about Misty is, in a way, her character really becomes quite central towards the end of the G5 series. For example, obviously, when we have the breezes come into it, and we have sort of a lot of a big G4 info dump, if you will. We obviously eventually learn that Misty's dad is Alphabeetle, the game-loving, riddle-loving unicorn that we meet in the G5 film, who obviously shows up a lot in the G5 series. And obviously we learn that she disappeared one day when she was a young filly, and obviously we assume that Opaline found her and took her in and, planned to use her for her own device and her own purposes. I would say that if there's one thing about Misty that I would have definitely loved to have seen a bit more of, is more of her past. It is revealed, as I say, that she is Alphabeetle's daughter. It is revealed, she goes missing and he never finds her, and that's why he stays in Bridalwood, because he's waiting for his daughter to come back. But it is pretty much a shame that we do not get to see more of her backstory. If anything, it would have really fleshed her out a lot more. I mean, just in my opinion, she's a fleshed out character as it is, but it would have been nice to have known a bit more, like what happened in the early days, how did Opaline find her? Did she just wander into the Dark Castle one day, lost and alone? Did Opaline come across her somehow? Maybe Opaline was out, she'd left the Dark Castle, she'd gone somewhere, she found Misty. It would have been interesting to see the early days of Misty and Opaline, just sort of see what Misty was up to during the early days when she was a filly, exactly what Opaline was, teaching her. It would have been very interesting. And it's a shame, really, that we never get to see that. But as I say, I do see Misty as being the stronger written character out of the main group. So ultimately, she's a major part in Opaline's downfall, and she gains her cutie mark by helping her friends. Like, Opaline has them all trapped inside a magical bubble, and no matter how hard she tries, Sunny can't get out. Her alicorn magic won't let her break her friends out. But Misty eventually manages to break them out by using a magically imbued stick, which is effectively what it was. So after she breaks them out, she earns a cutie mark. I'd love to talk about her cutie mark, but I can't, because I honestly have zero idea what the cutie marks in G5 represent. I mean, we could state that Misty's cutie mark represents, I think it does represent change, at least in part, because it is a butterfly, so I've always assumed it represents change. But as we know that cutie marks represent a pony's sort of inner talent, if you will, it must mean more than just change, it must mean something else. So, after saving Sunny and her friends, she earns a cutie mark, and she has to keep it hidden from Opaline, because for quite a while she's still very much playing the double agent. It is quite interesting as time progresses, where she gets to the point where she pretty much goes full on with the main character. She helps them all out, and she finally stands up to Opaline properly. In many ways, I think in many ways Misty is in many ways almost like as I say, a reverse Twilight. In certain ways, she is being looked after in her younger years by an Alicorn, like Twilight was with Celestia. But obviously, Opaline was evil. And it's kind of interesting to see that she just didn't really have a huge effect on Misty. Like, Misty was never inherently evil or willing to fully cooperate or, with Opaline. I think she hung around her, she believed she'd get a cutie mark, but she was never inherently evil. Which obviously suggests a lot about certain characters in Equestria and in MLP in general. You can have Misty live with Opaline for most of her, filly years and young years and like adult years, all that stuff, and come out very much fighting to be herself. And I think that's why I really like her character. She reminds me a lot of, I suppose to an extent she reminds me a bit about me. I mean, I could say I'm somebody who's still trying to find their way in life, still trying to understand what they're looking for, what they want to do in life. And Misty is very much that kind of character. She's facing two sides of the sword, effectively. On one side, she's Opaline. I might get my cutie mark, but on the other side, she knows Opaline's evil. She knows Opaline's trying to do bad, and she wants to help the good side. She wants to help out the main ponies. She wants to help everybody out in Bridalwood. And as time passes, she accepts that, and she earns a cutie mark, as we discussed. And ultimately, I just feel like her character, I often wonder, was she perhaps originally intended to be a main character, like a main character? Because imagine, for example, if Misty had shown up in the G5 film, but at the start, what if the film had focused on her as well as Sunny and her friends? What if we'd seen bits and pieces of Misty throughout that film? In a way, it would have set her and Opaline up a hell of a lot more. But again, we could assume that when the G5 film was initially started, they didn't know if they were going to, be a G5 series. But when it comes into play with Misty's character, I think it's definitely safe to say she temporarily takes over as almost like the central character to G5. I mean, apart from having the incredible, the good backstory, the character development, and ultimately having her learn a lot of life lessons and earn her cutie mark, which is, I believe, the only pony in G5 we ever see do that outside of flashbacks. In a way, her character really, in many ways, to me anyway, resembles the sort of what MLP's core story is about. It's about friendship, it's about learning lessons, it's about bettering yourself. And Misty definitely does that. She earns friendship, she earns a cutie mark, and she finds her place in the world. And it's one of the many things about the character that I've really learned to like. I know her overall design as well I really do like. And it really is quite interesting to see where they might go with Misty's character. That is assuming we ever see her again, if there is a G6. Because let's not forget, G5 ends on sort of a cliffhanger, so it's quite possible we'll see G6 or another part G5, maybe like part 2. But I'd be really interested to see how Misty's character could progress and grow. I mean, we have a character who spent most of her younger years and early adult years living with the main villain of the show. So who's to say Misty does not know certain things? Maybe she knows about other potential threats. Maybe she knows secrets about Alicorns, because we know that Opaline told her a lot about, how she grew up with Celestia and Luna. Obviously, we don't know how much of that was true, but it leaves you to wonder, is there information Misty might know about or might be able to get hold of? I mean, I know I'm stretching it a little bit by saying that, but you never know. So yeah, in many ways, as I say, she is sort of my go-to character for Gen 5. It was Sunny for quite a while, but when Misty came into it, and when she really started to grow as a character, that's when it changed for me. In a way, it always feels a bit of a shame. It feels a little bit of a shame because you're dealing with a character who just ultimately became better written than the main character. Well, she's a main character, but she became better written than the other main characters. As I say, it's why I believe that she may have meant to have been the primary character in some way. She definitely has that feel. She definitely has a very important role to play, as we see throughout the series. And I generally feel that she had a lot of potential, more than we were seeing. I mean, I'm not sort of saying she wasn't good character. I'm saying that we should have seen more of her. We should have had more of her backstory. But ultimately, she always falls into my favourite category of G5 ponies. You know, she's my number one. I'd say Sunny's definitely a number two, and I put Izzy at number three, Zip and Pip at sort of number four combined together. But yeah, Misty's my favourite G5 pony, and as I've explained, it largely falls down to the way she's written and the fact that she's had a fairly great backstory and a lot of fleshing out as a character. Thoughts on the future of Misty? Well, I'm hoping that she does pop up again. I'm hoping if there is a continuation for G5, you know, she plays a larger role in the group. I'm kind of hoping that if that is the case, we will get to see her maybe having to heal from her times with Opaline, maybe having to deal with the early days. Maybe we'll get to see flashbacks of Misty, the early years, like when she was a young filly and Opaline first found her. I'd love to see things like that. And ultimately, I'd just love to sort of see her grow even further as a character, to see her develop and become something else, become Misty 2.0. No, Misty 3.0, because she's already Misty 2.0 by the end of G5. So I'd say I want to see Misty 3.0. I want to see her grow even more as a character, and I want to see her shake off whatever shackle might still be on her from Opaline, because I doubt there's going to be she's fully free of Opaline. You know, I think something could happen in later G5 or G6 if she shows up again, if there isn't plans for this, and maybe we'll see more of her and the effects Opaline had on her. Yeah, for example, magic. I mean, we don't really know if Misty ever learned anything magically from Opaline, but she may well have that. She may well have something magic-wise from Opaline. And ultimately, I would be curious to know who her mother is. But I don't think that we'll ever find that out. I don't think sort of learning Pony's full family heritage is something that the writers will ever give us, especially in G5. Just to wrap this up, Misty Brightdawn, giving her full name, the cute little blue G5 unicorn, who has the amazing Afro style mane, who as I said, I'd give her a big hug if I met her, because I think she needs a big hug. Yeah, so favourite character, largely for the well written, fleshed out character she was given. Hoping to see a lot more of her if we do have a continuation of G5, and as I say, I'd love to see her grow more as a character. So yeah, we're going to wrap this up, but thank you for listening to this little conversation I've had about Misty. But thank you for listening, and thank you for checking out Bronies UK. Please subscribe if you want to see more stuff in the future. This has been Sam. Thank you for listening, and have a great day. Peace out.